Hi, this is Jeanette from Happy Spots and Ink Spots, and today what I'm going to be showing you is how to color objects that are black or dark gray. I'm using this cute little witch from Whiff of Joy, and I'm going to be using my Copic sketch markers from the Cool Gray series. I'm going to be imagining that my light is sort of coming in this way, alright, so coming more across this area here will be lighter. And I'm going to start with my C1. When I color, I always go from light to dark. So I'm using my lightest marker right now. And I'm going to be leaving, you'll see some areas uncolored, blank. And that's because as I progress with my shading, those areas are going to be the lightest. So I always sort of leave them white at the beginning, and that gives me also a good idea of how I want to lay down my color. A little bit up here. Okay. So next I'm going to be going to the next color is C3. And I'm going to be going back right over what I just did. Again, I always say you don't have to push too hard. If you have a light hand, it makes the blending easier. Get in there, like that. Okay. The next color I'm going to be using is C5. And the same thing. I'm going to be pretty well going over everything I've already colored. And don't be afraid to turn your image around so that it's much easier for you to lay your color on. Okay. I'm going next with my C7. I tend to use, when I'm coloring, I tend to use more than one, I tend to use more than 3 colors when I'm coloring. Just because I find that it just gives me better shading and better control over all the tones. So I usually use 4 or 5 colors when I'm coloring. And as I said, as long as you don't put too much ink down, you're not going to have a problem with bleeding. Alright, so then I'm going to take my C5, which is the one tone down, and I'm just going to start blending. Now, I'm not going to go all the way over here, because then I'll lighten up that area, and I don't really want that. So you just want to sort of smooth out any harsh lines. There we go. I'm going next to my C3. Oops, sorry about that. And again, the same thing. I'm just trying to blend out my lines and get a nice gradual shading happening. Now I have my C1, and I'm going to start filling in those blank areas I had left, and at the same time I'm blending in the rest of my coloring. Same thing here. Okay, so at this point, it's when I come back and start looking, and if I find that perhaps I want it a little bit darker somewhere, I start adding a little bit more color. Right now I'm putting in C3 just along here, and I'll just blend it out again with my C1. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take C9, which is a very dark gray, and I'm just going to very lightly add it just at the edges of my coloring, like this. Just to give a nice contrast. Now in so doing, I did create a little bit too much of a line there, so I'm just going to go back with my colors and just again just gradually I'm going to go in with my other colors again and just sort of get rid of those lines. So as you can see, it's a gradual process and you can't really rush it. Alright, so there you have it. I hope this was helpful to you. Thanks for stopping by.